How many of you mothers out there have lost a child? How many of you have had to bury two?
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. We're going to talk to you guys about the Chi Season 3, Episode 1. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, you got the minerals, you got the minerals. Alright, make sure you as well grab your merchandise from the store at the Mineral Gang. Yeah, that's how we've got some new stuff there. And also, if you want one of these hats, click down below on the link and look for Shade, Still Shady, and look for one of these caps here. Use the LBB91, Little Black Book 91 code and get yourself 10% off. Alright, listen, so let's jump straight into it, no waste no time. I think, first of all, this show, I love it. We're on season 3 now, watched the past 2 seasons. What I want to just straight away say is, did you notice, obviously, the contrast that were happening? There was a lot of contrast here. For instance, number 1.
How many of you mothers out there have lost a child?
Life and death. We have a marriage and then we have a funeral. And then we have a contrast between the very beginning and close to the very, very end, where we have Brandon's mother speaking about the failed love, or she say the lack of love she can give to Brandon, and herself she blaming herself. And then obviously at the very end we see obviously Jake's older brother, who was in prison, actually speak to his mother about her failed love as well. And so we see these contrasts that are coming through all the way through the show. And I think this whole theme was about love, right? It was about unconditional love. And at the beginning of the scene, we get this scenario where we see, Kevin's mum having a wedding and finally getting wedded to her girlfriend at the time, right? And then we get this contrast with a funeral. Now, what first came to my mind was that this was about Jesus Christ, right? And I know it sounds kind of mad, sounds out like blood. How's he got on religion? But listen, just listen to me. Look, in the Christendom, what we talk about is Christ being buried, Christ dying, being buried, and being resurrected, right? And resurrected is then used at towards the end when you're talking about Jake's older brother, when he says, well, I thought you were dead, and he said, obviously, well, I've been resurrected. Listen, it's very pertinent, because in the Bible says in John 2, where Jesus came to turn water into wine, he was at a wedding. But he said, it's not my time yet, mother. I can't be glorified just yet. John 17, when he's going to die, he says, listen, glorify me like I had glory in heaven, right? Understand that, obviously, when it comes to the death, the burial, and the resurrection, that's Christ's cycle to let us know that those of us who accept Christ can be born again. Now, what's that got to do with the Chi? Well, and if we got a wedding, we got a funeral, right? We've got showing the wedding, okay? That's where we come into a relationship with God, right? We also die to self, okay? The Bible says we're in the world, we're not part of the world. We die to self, okay? We're buried, and then we are what? Resurrected. Do you understand? And we're resurrected with Him. So now we have a new mind and a new spirit that allows us to follow the ways of God. Now, back to the Chi. The Chi, obviously, in regards to that as well, was interesting because we got the funeral where, the mother... it was all women actually. So Chi was about Brandon's mother. We saw Kevin's mother, and then we saw Jake's mother talking to her older brother, right? To the older brother of Jake. So it's all about women and all about their love and how two of them had failed in their love in some shape or form, right? Brandon's mum. Oh, and second of all, I was shocked it was Brandon's death. Now, is anyone else thinking that? I was shocked. I was like, blood, I wasn't ready for that. No, I wasn't ready for that. No, Brandon, no. No, Brandon, no! Okay, cool. Anyway, so we see that the scene where his mother, Brandon's standing up, and she talks about the fact that Brandon was here with her little brother. He said the truth. And she goes, I've got to say the truth. And this is where she comes to bare her soul. And I think at the point of death, when someone passes, it releases you from the pretense that you can't tell the full truth, right? You can't tell your full-hearted truth. And now she's at the point where death has been happened. She can tell the absolute truth.
I knew I wasn't cut out to be somebody's mother. And that's because nobody mothered me.
She stands up pulpit and she tells us the truth. Her truth is this: I didn't want kids. Her truth is this: I wasn't ready for kids. Her truth is I didn't plan to have kids. You understand? At the end of the day, I wasn't trying to have kids. But it got to a point where she realized I was broken. right? And I was so broken because my mother never gave me love, so therefore I didn't know how to even show love to Brandon and him. But Brandon did something that was different. Brandon took that that unrequited love, that hatefulness or that bitterness and that anger, and then refueled it and channeled it into his dreams, right? And it's a contrast, because it is a contrast now. It's a contrast between himself and Jake's older brother. Right? Because when Jake's older brother speaks to his mum, he says, "Mum, you didn't give me no love. Like, that's why me, Reg, ended up the way we did. You didn't give us the love that we wanted."
You know, I never knew what it felt like to feel wanted. Neither did Reg.
Right? And so therefore, there was two paths that were taken. Brandon took the narrow road, and then Jake's older brother took the wider path. And in the Christianity, we say narrow road means those who are walking alongside Christ. The wider road is doing whatever you feel like you can do, but you're going to end up at a destination. Trust me. Both will take you somewhere, right? And so we see this contrast that even when you're on the narrow road, you can still be died. Yeah, you can still be died. Yeah? What does that mean? The grace of God. The Bible says the grace means unmerited favor. You didn't earn it. You didn't deserve it. You got given it. Yeah? It's the grace of God. The reason why all of us are even alive now. Yeah? It's the grace of God. The reason why I get saved. Okay? Because it's by grace that we are saved through, we're saved by grace through faith. You understand? Cool. So now, obviously, we've got the contrasting of the boys' lives and what they did with the energy or the love they were given. How did they redistribute that? One turned into a hardened criminal, the other tried to become a chef. You understand? Difference, okay? That's not to take away from anything anyone's experience, just to point out that there's also, I guess, they're showing us a duality of choice, yeah? What do you do, yeah, with your choice, all right? Even if it means sacrifice, even if it means dying. Okay, cool. So then obviously she goes on to say that, you know, she didn't give Brandon the love that he deserved. She didn't want to give it to him because she couldn't do it. She didn't know how to do it. She was so broken. All she can give him was brokenness, right? And I think this is a lot of the and the black community has suffered so much that, you know, fathers leaving homes and mothers being a strong black woman, and then, you know, not being able to give that love because of bitterness and anger and unforgiveness, and then transferring it from generation to generation to generation, causes a ripple effect of trauma that keeps on going. And even when things are not said, the Bible, there's the scientific kind of explanation for this, where there's trauma that passes through the cells. So each generation receives a portion of trauma. So as well as obviously what's been said, what's been done to you, you're receiving trauma through these cells, almost like, right? You're inheriting trauma. Right? And so the black community is there. We are at a point where we inherit trauma. We live by trauma. In fact, trauma is us because of what we face and what we go through on a day-to-day basis. And she exposes that by saying that she couldn't give what he needed. Like, she just couldn't do it, right? But when she found them, and it's funny because she said, obviously, I didn't want to have kids, but I got to a point where I felt like I wanted to have kids because I wanted to fill the hole, right? And you know, a lot of people try to do this. They try to fill the hole with something else. Listen, the hole can only be filled by Jesus.
Because they finally taught me what it was like to be loved.
Jesus. But anyway, you know, she says obviously she's trying to fill the hole, and then eventually, you know what? She never had the unconditional love until she had kids, and then she realized the kids gave her the unconditional love. At that point, realization. But at that point, it's also too late. You know, at the point where you have kids and they teach you unconditional love, it's too late. Because you've done already given them, you know, all these falsities of what love is, and anger and bitterness and hatred towards you. You've given it to them already, and they're having to unpack it and unlearn it as they're getting older. Do you understand? Trauma, yeah? And then obviously we kind of see the opposite where we see at a wedding, where we see Kev, we see Sister Keisha, we see the mom and the girlfriend, and we see that obviously that they're having a great time, they're having a celebration. And the Bible says there's a time to mourn, there's a time to rejoice. You understand? There's always a time for something underneath the sun. It's a season. Right? And so we see, what's even interesting is that we see, obviously, you know, the girlfriend turned her wife now. She begins to explain, Dre begins to explain, basically, how she wants to be there for the two of them. And I think it's almost like the replacement of the fatherhood with her. Like, I'm not sure that's what they were trying to allude to. But the fact is, all women that were mentioned in this beforehand, there was no men. There were no men. I don't know if you deeped it. And that's what's happening to our community at the moment. When men are not standing up and being counted, or not, forget the killing part. Men who are not standing up and being counted, Not that people are gonna be gay or anything. No, no, no. What we're saying is, no, the men are not being stand up and counting. They're causing community drama. They're causing the community to suffer in the long run because these kids are unfostered and uncultivated. They're not having the input from their father, who should be there to be able to have wise words and protect them and keep them safe, right? But they're not getting that. They got their mums there, but they're not getting that fatherly figure belief. And because of that, it can be stunting parts of their growth in them emotionally. You understand? And some of the experiences they should be experiencing, they're not experiencing it. Right? So they have to make their own way through certain things when really they should have been taught these things by their father. It's crazy, right? That's the whole scene. And then obviously, you know, we get the wedding itself, and we see that obviously later on they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun. And what's really interesting, even at the wedding, is the fact that Darnell, obviously Emmett's dad, and Jada are coming late. Now, here's the thing you got to point out. First and foremost, Darnell is in front of Jada. He's not even waiting for Jada. They're late, and he doesn't even think to wait for her. This already shows me that he's not really about this relationship. Anything that apart from sex, he's good. He's overconfident. He's kind of prideful, cocky, sure. He knows he's good looking, and the way he's treating Jada, like, that's not a loving relationship. It's not a budding relationship. Because why is it that when you are leading and going in front and saying obviously, you know, if you can't keep up, da-da-da-da. But the reason why we're late is because you had a haircut.
If you can't hustle in them heels, you should have wore flats.
Shut up. You the one that decided to cut your own hair at the last minute.
I can't go to a wedding without a fresh lineup.
And like, because you don't look like Steve Curry, that should let you know where your priorities lie. You understand? That you're now trying to redistribute the actual blame on somebody else. Do you see me? Almost gaslighting the individual and then redistributing the problem onto Jada, right? And that's very, very important to understand because he was wrong. Blood, why are you taking a late minute cut? I don't care if your hair's mashed up. You're taking a late minute cut which made us late. And then you're cussing me for not being speedy. You understand? Then we see later on as well, when they speak after the vows have been said, he says, why aren't we, why aren't we married? And she says, obviously, well, you got.
If you can't hustle in them heels, you should have wore flats.
Shut up. You the one that decided to cut your own hair at the last minute.
I can't go to a wedding without a fresh lineup.
You gotta stop being basically a cheater. And then he goes, obviously, well, you wouldn't obey. Listen, you didn't answer the first part of the question. You said, what's the question? Why we're not married? I said to you, you're a cheater. You didn't address that particular statement. You moved on and then said, well, you don't obey. Yeah? And from that moment, you've already nullified the statement. From that moment, you're basically saying, you don't care about the statement that she made. It's about, you think the reason why you're not to give her is because of this. But she's told you why you're not to give her. You can't keep it in your pants. And the fact that you're but swerving it and denying it, and the fact that you're not addressing it, lets us know that you're not about this life where you're mature. You're not about this life where you're ready for a relationship again. You're not ready for anything like the sort. That's why you're splitting up with your girl. That's why you're going your separate ways. Because the knowledge to understand these things, you haven't clocked it yet still. You understand? How is it someone's coming with an argument saying that you cheat? That's the reason why we're not together, and you address the fact that, well, you don't do this. You know, you don't obey, right? And she said herself, I'm not a dog. Yeah? And the Bible says, and people might use the Bible for wrong ways. No. The Bible says that the woman should submit to man, and a man should submit to a woman. Yeah, the Bible says, obviously, yes, the bride is like, the woman's like the bride. She's the bride of Christ. There's a mystery, right? And just like the bride of Christ, Christ died for the church. That means a place of servitude. When you are a leader, the responsibility of a leader is to use the power correctly, not incorrectly. It's not to lead by force, but to lead by love. And so what we're not seeing with Darnell is, we're not seeing that with Darnell. My man just thinks that it's going to work this the way he wants it to work. He's got his own selfish ambitions, and he's got his own selfish mind and his own goals that he has, and then he wants to drag someone else along with him.
Why we ain't never do that?
Do what?
Get married.
You promising to be faithful is a lie nobody believes.
They believe it more than you saying you'd obey.
That's how he does things. He's not ready for a relationship. He's not there yet. He ain't done the work yet. He's not finished training yet. He ain't finished maturing yet. Growth. We need it. All right? Because you not addressing the actual point and then trying to counteract it with your own by saying, well, you know, you don't obey. Instantly lets me know where your mind's at. You're not understanding that. That's not the reason why you broke up. You would have broke up because you couldn't keep it in your pants. What was interesting as well, watching Emmett as well through the whole show as well. Emmett was a comforter through everybody. Now, I'm going to do the colours thing as well. He was wearing a light blue shirt in majority of it. And the light blue kind of indicates somebody who's a helper, somebody who's willing to go the extra mile, somebody who's, you know, It's about making sure that people are good and they're safe. And what we see for the whole show is him talking to Kev's sister Keisha, then talks to Kev's mum, yeah, and all he's offering is his services every single time. He even tried to offer his condolences to Brandon's mum, but it wasn't taken on board. All of this is to show that he's a caring person, because he's wearing, colours have an importance. So when you're wearing light blue, it's to show that helpfulness, and you have the ability to overcome obstacles by helping the people. So what you see is later on when he's talking to Kevin.
You're not Brandon. Nigga, you think I don't know that?
Don't say nigga. Brandon hated that word.
After he's unloading in the van, he says, listen, bro, I'm going to be a big brother to you, right? Kevin's like, bro, you can't be Brandon. Like, Brandon can't be replaced, right? Emmett is a poor man's Brandon. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not no Brandon. He's not as intelligent or as smart or, someone who's integral in the sense of the fact that they won't use the N-word or they won't use the word nigger, right? He's not that same person that as Kev would require, right? But at the same time, Emmett still goes to gun and presses forward and says, listen, no, I gotta be your older brother. Now, Emmett's in that place where he's just looking to help people as much as possible. We see this later on when he's speaking to his mum, and he's saying to his mum, I'm warning you about Dad. Like, Dad isn't even mad. And she's like, who you tell me? And he's like, listen, if you need a lift, I will do it. This is what light blues do. People who wear light blue colours, they do this. They are helpful creatures. They want to overcome obstacles by helping. You understand? By offering solutions. And so he does that. Okay, which is really, really interesting. And then obviously when he speaks to Kev's sister, Keisha, by the waterside, by the way, the waterside sea is to donate that freedom. It's to donate voyeurism, to voyage out into the deep, to try something new. And what do they end up talking about? They end up talking about her being fearful, and then he goes encouraging, because one of the things about light blue is that they are encouragers, yeah? People who like the colour light blue or wear light blue oftentimes are encouragers. They strengthen you. And so what he does is he starts to tell her, listen, don't be fearful. Don't be fearful. And then we see a contrast here, because we see the two ladies that speak to Keisha earlier on about we thought you were going to be pregnant and da-da-da-da. And then we fast forward to Emmett now, who's now talking about issues, saying, listen, I don't want you to be one of those women that have, birth children for these basically lame-ass guys. I don't want you to be that woman. I don't want you to. I want you to go far. I want you to push beyond where you think you can push beyond. I want you to go beyond the surface of the deep. I want you to go deeper than that. You understand? I want you to dive deep. You understand? And so what's saying is, what Emma was doing was, again, encouraging her, pushing Keisha again. And I think, obviously, their relationship is very, very unique. I don't know how people would feel if that was a real... If you were Tiffany, how would you feel about that? Maybe you...
Shit, you never know. I stared at a girl too long, she get pregnant.
Stop staring at me then.
You feel like Tiffany when she saw that Keisha come to the door with a tight-ass skirt. I don't know where the skirt was even going. The skirt was not going. The skirt was not going. The skirt was tight and up high. And I was wondering, what are you doing, Keisha? Anyway, so yeah, we see from Emmett that he beginning to address Tiffany and her fears about going to, all-white place and losing herself and not being able to fit in, I'm guessing. And then obviously she doesn't really love track that much, so why is she really there? And the whole point is this. Emmett just sees beyond. He's now beginning to get it. No, I need you to fly. I need you to go past the boundaries. I need to break the boundaries. I need you to do what you do best. Even though you don't like track, use it as a way to obviously do other things. Don't get stuck here. And that's a great piece of advice from someone who actually genuinely cares about you. They don't want to see you just close. They want to see you win. And that's the most important thing. They want to see you close. They want to see you win. And that's what he's all about. And then we see him later on talking to Kev's mum and explaining, how, he wants to be able to cook the food and everything like that. But she's like, no, don't worry, it's fine. Like, they're all the pieces, by the way. Some people were the guy on the table was complaining about the food anyway. But yeah, so what's important is that you see Emmett's helpfulness in this particular episode. You see this helpfulness from him. You see the fact that he's determined to try and do something positive.
People wouldn't even have showed up today. I applaud your dedication. Pull your head up. You figure it out. Here.
Positive, right? He remembers Brandon. He remembers how Brandon was positive. He remembers how Brandon was living, proof that, listen, you can make your dreams work. Do you understand? So all of that was playing on his mind. You know what I'm saying? But he was still keeping encouragement, still pushing for it, right?
So you're not going to ask me how my day was?
How was your day, my king?
Don't play with me, too.
what I can offer or what I can give to you. Do you know what I'm saying? And so when he says that, you see him then says, oh, what, you didn't even ask me about anything, you know, how it felt. Like, oh, what was going on? And she didn't, right? Because this is a guy who needs emotional care. Like, obviously he's a mummy's boy, but he needs emotional care. Like, he's probably love languages, words of affirmation or quality time. Maybe he needs quality conversations, you know what I'm saying? And then he comes and sits down, or at least stands up, and she starts to pay him a bit more attention, but she's lighting up a spliff anyway. So there's not real full attention on him to have this discussion. And then obviously, you know, then she fixes up and then goes, okay, cool, do you know what? Let me ask you some questions, right? And he comes and sits next to her, and they have a little bit of a conversation. But the conversation doesn't go into any depth in terms of how he feels. He spoke a little bit in terms of that he's doing it for Brandon, and then she, you know, smartly replies with wisdom, you should need to do it for yourself, not for Brandon, right? And that's very, very important, that, you know, you have somebody in your corner that believes in you and that pushes you and that wants you to grow. I don't know if he gets that from Tiffany. What he gets from Tiffany is the energy, the love, the sex, the passion, everything like that. But does he get the fact that somebody wants to see him do better? The fact that you know, Keisha just a bubbly, light, going person. Does he get that from Tiffany? And then we see later on when Keisha comes through the door, when Keisha comes and knocks on the door, Tiffany approaches the door, opens it, sees her, and it goes, oh, you got company. What's interesting is that Tiffany never leaves the living room. She stays where she is, right? And actually, she has as Emmett is talking to Keisha, I thought it was quite awkward anyway to invite her in when she was wearing that. I ain't gonna lie to you, brother, you messed up. And obviously, then the fact that she pulls the money from her breast and gives it to you, fam, you messed up.
From my mom.
Appreciate it.
And then obviously Tiffany does something which is very, very interesting and if you notice, she was wearing dark orangey peach and black shorts earlier on in the scene, right, the day before. And then in this particular day, she's wearing the reverse again, where she's wearing a black top and then the dark orange bottoms, right? And I'll approach that in another video where I talk about the colors and what they actually mean. But in the scene, she's standing beside or back behind, Emmett, and then she swivels and comes round and still behind him though, and tells, Keisha quite clearly, listen, back up, back the frick up. Like, I don't mind you coming here, but don't be coming on with them clothes. You understand? Don't be doing them things. Yeah. Now every man should have control of their loins and everything like that, but I get why she had to regulate. Don't come up in the air with them things there. You understand? So I get that territorial feeling that Tiffany was feeling. She wanted to hold on to what she had. They finally got somewhere, her and Emmett. They finally got somewhere, her and Emmett, and they're growing, and she doesn't want to release that. So she made sure she marked her territory, but she didn't get inside of the face of Keisha. She didn't do it. She did it from behind. From behind, which is like passive aggressive, but aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't want to get into her face, but you wanted to do a passive aggressiveness to let her know, listen, don't come around here no more. We don't switch sides round.
I don't mind you coming here to drop no money, y'all. Just don't come to my house looking like no hooker.
And then we see Kev with the boys, which is really interesting as well. Kev with the boys, Kev just trying to make these girls come over, man. He's excited, he's high, he just wants a good time, right? Especially with all the things that have gone on. My man just wants a break. And I can't blame him for smoking weed. Because fam, the things that he's gone through already, is a tough boy, as Dre said. He's a tough boy. But what was interesting is the fact that Kev intelligence in terms of like telling Big Papa about Aisha. Like, say, listen, look, she's a smart girl. Da, da, da.
She's smart. You gotta connect with her on some intellectual type shit.
I could do that.
Going with the intellectual. And it's like, okay, bro, so, and you have to watch the color scheme now, wearing red and black. That's the duality there. You see that masculine energy to go on the go, but the black energy to tell you, listen, analyze, stay calm, be powerful, yeah? And let this thing happen, right? Move from that. And you see that obviously he gives Big Papa this great, this great knowledge about how to approach the situation. So when they girls come round, they finish up and then they come back into the room. Big Papa's like letting them know, listen, do you know what, fam? We just chatted, we had a good time, and Kevin's confused, like, what, you didn't smash? And then it's interesting because Kevin's like got this naivety, but he's also got this fact that he's growing and he's got knowledge and he's got things that he wants to do. Same with Jake. He's very innocent. That's why they both were wearing white underneath their tops, because that was to show their innocence, right? But on top of it, they were wearing red, right? That red shows ready to go. I'm on action. That's why at one point Jake had to tell him, listen, you're being a bit thirsty, relax. You understand? Chill. You understand? Relax. You understand? Chill. You know what I mean? And that had to happen because obviously, Jake had to learn that, listen, my guy, like, listen, there's a way to, Jake had to tell Kev, yo, man, my brother, the girls are going to come true. Just relax. Don't get too angst.
That does not sound sexy at all.
She bared her soul to me, y'all. That's way more important than bearing her body.
I ain't trying to see nobody's soul.
I want both.
You gotta put in work, Kev.
How much work?
You understand? So it was important to kind of see that because what you saw was a great accountability in the sense of the way that approaching a female, right? Big couple said I want to spend quality time with her, and you saw Kev then match that energy by saying, listen, she's smart, she's this or that, so go in it appropriately. And it's interesting that obviously Big Papa changed. No one else changed, but Big Papa changed. So he was wearing all black, and so was Aisha. That color matching, important. Black is intelligence, it's courage, it's fearlessness, it's mystery. There's so many different things that go with it as well. I don't want to go too deep. Watch out for our color rendition. We're going to talk about a few more things. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, you got the minerals. You got the minerals. Yeah, 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 yeah.